Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a Hellhounds guide for old school RuneScape. Definitely a big fan of Slayer myself, which is why I've decided to kind of put out all these guides, so hopefully you guys enjoy them. If you do, make sure to leave a like. Whatever guides you want to see next, let me know in a comment down below. And with that said, let's just go ahead and get into this Hellhounds guide. So these are the requirements. They're not hard and fast requirements, just kind of what I would recommend. 60 attack and strength would be a good starting point, just so you can have dragon weaponry. But if you have to come here with the rune sim, I mean, you do what you gotta do. If you do come here at a low level, you are going to need to use prayer because they hit pretty high. So that's why 43 prayer is there for protect from melee. And then if you're not going to go the melee route, maybe you can't take the damage or you just don't want to spend money on prayer potions, then you could range 2. Maybe you just want range XP. I'm not sure, but if you have over 50, the magic shortbow will work really well. Now, of course, again, you could come here with lower, but it's just going to be such a long task. I really don't recommend people be doing this at that low of level because it probably just won't have a good time at all. In terms of what to expect, Hellhounds are weak to melee, mage, and range, so you can kill them with anything. I'm only covering melee and range because mage isn't really a prominent Slayer outfit, just because it's kind of costly unnecessarily, and there are a lot better ways to train magic. So Hellhounds will attack with melee, so that's all you're going to have to worry about, and their max hit is 11 to 13 depending on the variation, but they do hit pretty consistently, so that's why high defense or prayer is going to be useful. As far as what to expect loot wise, there's not a lot. I put brimstone keys up here because there's basically no drops. That's a 1 in 95 chance for a brimstone key if you are on a Konar task. Other than that, a 1 in 32.7 thousand chance at a smoldering stone, which is like a mill or two, so that's very cool, right? And then a 1 in 64 drop rate of hard clues, which I'm not a big fan of. I used to be. I'm actually a big fan of mediums and masters, so I don't do a ton of hards, but if you're into them, I encourage people to do clue scrolls. They help you further your account, and they are a lot of fun. And that rate can be lowered to 1 in 32 if you do it in the wilderness with a Ring of Wealth Eye, which we'll talk about later. So before we get into it all, should you kill Hellhounds? Personally, I think so. They are good XP, you can cannon them if you'd like, and if you are into clue scrolls, they offer that. Of course, they won't offer any drops really other than the clue scroll loots, but they are a very good task in the sense that they don't have any defense at all, so you can just tear through them and get really good XP. So we'll start with the melee gear. On the left-hand side, we kind of have the lower tier setup, and then it works its way up to the max tier setup on the right. Overall, the first two setups are just looking for prayer bonuses along with strength bonuses, because since you'll probably be lower level in those setups, I just figured most people will opt for prayer if using melee. Might not be the case. You might just want to bank a lot and use defensive gear. If so, that's fine. Just switch out that stuff for barrows and maybe a fighter torso if you're into that. But most of that is labeled if you need it. Obviously with the max setup, I could use an Inferno Cape, and also the Karen Blessing is the best in slot blessing, so that's what I don't have on that account. Also of note in the top right, once the Hellhounds are updated to be demons, then the Arclight will be best in slot, so if you have extra charges that you don't know where you want to use them, maybe Hellhounds is the task. Personally, I'm probably not going to be, because I think there are better tasks to use the Arclight on, but if you want to, it will be best in slot when that goes into effect. For most people watching this down the line, it will be a thing. Then in terms of range gear, just a couple setups here. The one on the left-hand side is a magic shortbow setup. If you don't have black d'hide, you can use the same setup and just switch to, red or blue d'hide, whatever you have, it would be the same. And then the blowpipe setup in the middle is kind of just a more mid to high level example of what you could get. And then I threw on the right-hand side the upgrades that you could get if you wanted to max out that middle setup. Now, the Anguish is going to be the most important in there, and then the other ones are just kind of, whenever you get them, you get them. I don't really worry too much about those high upgrades with range, at least until you have a lot of excess cash. And then finally, if you do want to go out in the wilderness, these are the two setups. I have both of the wilderness weapons because they are insanely good, and I think they are worth the risk of the ether that they hold in them. If you're terrified of the wilderness, I understand. You don't have to do it this way. That's just for people that want to do it in the wilderness for either the clue scrolls, maybe a Slayer task, or because they like these weapons, which I do myself. And then before I show you how to get there and whatnot, the rates that you can expect, if you're just using melee and nothing else, max melee 25k Slayer XP per hour, and it works down from there, as you can see. If you want the combat XP per hour and whatever skill, just multiply these times 4, and if you have an Arclight, increase them by 15%. That is, of course, again, down the line when they are demons. As far as the rates for maxed out Slayer, if you go with max melee and piety, you can get 31k Slayer XP per hour. And if you go with max melee, piety, and a cannon, you can get 37k Slayer XP per hour. The multipliers hold true for the most part. It won't be 4 times as much combat XP with the cannon and piety because it'll be broken down weirdly with range and melee, but you get the idea. Overall, pretty good rates as far as Slayer goes, so I'm a big fan. So that brings us on how to get there and what to bring. I'll be going to the Stronghold cave outside next to Neve or Steve. If you don't know how to get here, a Slayer ring will do the trick, or you can get here through the tree spirits over there. And basically there is a nice little Hellhound spot in here. There's actually quite a few. As far as the inventory, I'm bringing a spec weapon with a dragon claws, a teleport to get here, a teleport away, some cannonballs because I'm also bringing a cannon set, and then a couple super combat potions, divine, but you can bring regulars or super sets, whatever you prefer. And then I have sharks. If you have high defense, I think sharks are viable. If you don't, I would probably recommend the prayer setup. Like I said earlier, as you can tell already, I'm going to need to eat a piece of food here soon so you can see what it's like. Now, granted, I did drink the divine, but again, they do hit a decent bit, so you can just expect that. Now, this is the cannonable method. This is a nice little spot to have them at. Personally, I enjoyed this area right here because there's 4 down here. You can grab another one if you need to. It offers about as many Hellhounds if you need. Some places you can sweat and like try to lure monsters over double hit tiles, but honestly here, I wouldn't really recommend it because there's just not enough Hellhounds to be worried about that type of stuff. And I've never been one to prefer that anyways. I don't know. I like the cannon more so just to attract the monsters to me so then I can AFK better, but if you feel like working out the spots, you can do that as well to kind of help your XP per hour the slightest bit. If you're opting to range, there's just a lot of kind of passageway spots that you can stand in between the rooms, like right here, over here, right there. You just find whatever spot you like and just range from there. There isn't too many obstacles in the way, but you have these that you can take advantage of, so I'd recommend that. If you are ranging, this is probably going to be the best spot for you. And then if you wanted to kill them in the catacombs, this is the setup I would recommend. A lot like the last one, I have a special attack weapon, a teleport to a Slayer Master, a teleport to my house. I also have cannonballs. I usually hold like 4 or 5 things in my inventory every task, no matter if I need them or not, because I really don't need the inventory spaces here. Also, 2 boosting potions, maybe 3 if it's going to be a longer trip for you if you're a little lower level. A lot of prayer potions, you can bring more if you think you'll need it. And a method to get to the catacombs. My Xerix Talisman is going to be the way, and just go to the Xerix Heart. If you don't have the ability to do that, there is a teleport option too here through the Karen teleport. You can go through someone's house, you can use your house teleport to get to down here and then run up, or you could take the Veos ship over here and run west. There are a few different options to get here, but however you find your way here, just go on down in the catacombs, and basically you should be oriented facing north. Just run a little bit to the west, and down here you'll have a nice little stack of Hellhounds that you can kill. Just pot up, and there's really about 2 spots, kind of a right hand spot and a left hand spot. If a couple people want to AFK in the same world, it's definitely possible without getting in each other's way. And here it is multi-combat. That's kind of the perk, that you can just AFK and get attacked by a lot of them at once. You'll stay in combat a lot more, but that is also why I recommend people pray here, because it's hard to take that type of damage and be able to stay here for a long amount of time. You'll either need Guthans, which isn't viable to use because it's just slow, or you'll need to bank a lot, which also is not ideal. So prayer is going to be the way to go here if that's what you're feeling. And then finally, if you are opting for the wilderness, this is the inventory that I'm taking. A Din's Bulwark along with a Black DI body, just something to switch into if a PKer comes. You don't need to, I just bring it personally because I think it is a bit better, and if you can afford a Din's Bulwark, it's definitely worth it. If you are using one, remember to put it on block so that you get the extra defense. And then I have a lockpick to maybe get away from PKers. It's an option that you can use. And I also have a knife or a wilderness sword to cut the spider webs in the wilderness. Along with that, again, a couple boosting potions, and then just brews, blighted anglerfish, and blighted super swords. These are items you can only use in the wilderness. They're a bit cheaper, so I may as well. And I'm going to just head on out there. You just want to get yourself to Edgeville one way or the other and use this nice little lever. And the Hellhounds are actually really, really close. Hopefully no one's out here, and I can just kind of fancy my way on up here to the north. There's Hellhounds down There are Hellhounds right here and some to the south as well. You can pick where you want to kill them at. Personally, I prefer the north because it's close to the escape route that I'll show you here in a second. Out here, I also opt for the prayer method because you're already going to be kind of running with a lot of resource anyways, and you don't want to use food out in the wilderness because if you end up eating a lot of your food and then a PKer comes by, obviously it's not going to go great. And I mean, the Vigorous Chain Mace or the crossbow, whichever one you opt for, is really, really good out here. I mean, the extra bonus, and I'm not even on a Slayer task on this account. I'm just killing Dagonauts, so I'm hitting like 48s without even being on a Slayer task, so you can see how insane it is. And if you're getting too quick of kills, you could bring some staminas and then run to the south if you want to, you know, be a little bit more active on your task. Personally, I don't really do it, but if you want to, that is up to you. And then in terms of if you were using a crossbow and want to kind of safe spot up here, there's a couple different options. You can use that, you can use these, or you could use these events over here. So whichever one you're preferring, that one's probably going to be the best one for you, just standing right there behind those tiles. And as far as the escape route, if anyone gets on you, I mean, if it's just like one guy or two, you know, you definitely should just try to get away through here. What I would recommend always in the wilderness, there is a skull trick right here. Some guy will, you know, be dressed in all black. You won't be able to see him. And so what I recommend to all people is go in your settings and turn on player attack options. Well, don't turn them on, but turn it on to hidden. You don't want to be attacking anyone out here, whether it's on purpose or not. So if you can't get away that way, then the ulterior option is to come on over here and just use your lockpick to get into this little magic axe hut. And basically there's just a ton of axes that are aggressive, and so whether or not a couple PKers come in there, they should start to get aggroed by these things. And basically once you're getting attacked by one, I would just X-log right away. X-logging basically allows your account to just be logged out after a certain period of time. It's relatively short, and as long as they don't get on you, you'll be good. And with this many axes in here, they typically won't, and that's how I go about it. I mean, ultimately, I'm not really risking that much. Like, if I protect item, I am, let's check, risking 261k. Now that's not including the ether. You add that in, maybe it's, you know, 500k, something like that. But ultimately you shouldn't be out here with any more than you can afford to lose. So it's not going to be the biggest deal if maybe they do get you out here, you know. If you do come in the wilderness, you can expect to sometimes die. That's just how it goes. But ultimately, that is it for my Hellhounds guide. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to see from me, any guides you want to see in the future, let me know in a comment down below. And on top of that, if you guys want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to hit that subscribe. Also, we'll be streaming today. Feel free to check that out down below. And with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.